Hey everybody, it's Molly Yeh from Girl Meets Farm, and today we're gonna be making shakshuka pizza, which is exactly what it sounds like, a mashup of my two favorite foods, shakshuka and pizza. Shakshuka is a North African dish with poached eggs in a bed of spicy tomatoey goodness, often topped with feta and served with pita or crusty bread. I can't think of a more perfect thing to top a pizza. Just wait until you bite into that runny yolk. So if you're cooking along with me, make sure you have your oven preheating to 475 with a pizza stone in it if you have one. So to start, let's make our shakshuka sauce. Put a pan on your stove and heat it over medium and add a drizzle of olive oil. And while this heats up, let's chop up our onion. So grab a sharp knife, chop both ends off the onion. Chop it in half, peel it. And place it cut side down on your cutting board so that you have more control. And then first, cut it across the equator. And if it's a big one, you can do another cut parallel to that, but this is the smaller onion, so we're in good shape with just one cut. And now cut it across like this, almost all the way to the end, but not fully, so that it's all held together by this end piece that's not cut. And now run your knife along it like this, so that you get some nice evenly sized dices. And then once you get to the end, you can put it on its side and chop that up too. So if you guys have never had shakshuka, you are in for a treat. It's one of my favorite foods ever. And it's poached eggs in a spicy tomato sauce. It's originally from North Africa and it is just delicious. And I always love to have mine with thick, fluffy pita. And so one day I thought, instead of pita, why don't we have it on pizza crust? Done. It's so good that way. So I'm really excited for you guys to try this. Okay, once your onion is chopped up, add it to the olive oil. Ooh, that's a good sizzle. That's how you know your pan is hot enough, if it sizzles as soon as the onions go in. Okay, and these onions just need to cook for a few minutes until they're soft and translucent, and adding a pinch of salt will help them soften because it'll draw their moisture out. So add a good pinch of kosher salt. Now chop up your 2 garlic cloves. And to do that, chop it the same way you would chop up an onion. So place it on its side so that it's sturdy and not gonna wiggle around too much. And then you can cut it along the equator and then make some cuts perpendicular to your cutting board. And now run your knife along those cuts, chopping up evenly sized pieces. And then once you get to the end, lay it on its side and chop that up too. Perfect. Have you guys met my thank you for coming bowl? This is the bowl where I put all the onion scraps and any other veggie scraps. It's so much easier than having to go to the garbage can anytime you have a veggie scrap. And then that way all of your compost is in one place, and then you could throw it out to the chickens or your compost pile. Okay, how are your onions looking? I'm gonna stir mine around a little bit and make sure all these onions get cooked. Okay, once your onions look soft and translucent, you can add the garlic. Just scoop it right up with your knife and toss it in. And stir this around, and it only needs about a minute or 2 to cook. And actually at this point, we could start to add our spices too. So get some ground cumin. It's a really nice warm spice. It's essential to shakshuka. Add a ½ teaspoon of that to your pan. And then grab your harissa, and that's where the heat is gonna come in for the shakshuka. Harissa is a North African pepper paste or powder. It's just really smoky and delicious. Oh, I love it. If you don't want it too spicy, just start with about a teaspoon. And I feel like these days harissa is at most grocery stores. If not, you could find it online Or if you don't have harissa, just sub it for a few pinches of crushed red pepper. All right, now stir this around. Oh, is it starting to smell good in your kitchen? It's starting to smell good right here. Okay, let your spices toast for another moment. Grab your tomato paste and your diced tomatoes. Okay, so your tomato paste is gonna amp up the tomatoey flavor in this sauce. You can eyeball about a tablespoon right into the pan. And this is just highly concentrated tomatoes. And I like it in the tube and not in the can because the tube is way easier to keep on hand and seal back up. With the can, when you open it, you have to use it really quickly. All right, and now open up your can of diced tomatoes. This is my least favorite kitchen task, using the can opener, but it's so worth it for this pizza. Okay, and you can pour your diced tomatoes right in, juices and all. Give this a stir. And all of these flavors are gonna season that tomato sauce and make it so delicious. So shakshuka is typically served right in the pan, because if you were just making shakshuka and not shakshuka pizza, you would heat this up, add your eggs, cover it, and let the eggs cook. That's shakshuka. But we're up in the ante this time and putting it on pizza dough. I can't wait to eat it. So one thing that I always add to my shakshuka sauce is a pinch of sugar or even a little drizzle of honey, and that small bit of sweetness rounds out the flavor and balances everything out. And you should also add some fresh black pepper. Have your pepper grinder right next to your stove, as well as a crock of salt, because you use these two things all the time. I'm gonna season with some more salt now that my tomatoes are in. Okay, now this sauce can just stay at a simmer, and now I'm gonna show you how to shape our pizza. Grab a piece of parchment paper and set this down on your work surface. And this is gonna make it super easy to transfer the pizza to the pizza stone. And now dust it with a little bit of flour so that the dough doesn't stick. So with this recipe, you can use your favorite pizza dough recipe or a store-bought dough, or maybe your favorite pizza parlor is willing to sell you a ball of their dough. That's my favorite way of getting a quick and delicious pizza. Okay, so whatever you're doing, you want to make sure that your dough is at room temperature before you start patting it out. Otherwise, it'll be too difficult to roll out. So just let it sit at room temp for an hour or two. Okay, now first shape it into a ball so that it's easier to roll out a round pizza. I'm just tucking the ends under to get it sort of round. And I always just start by patting it out with my fingertips and kind of working from the inside out toward the edges. And then once you've done all that you can with your fingertips, you can grab a rolling pin. I like using this small tapered rolling pin because I feel like it gives me more control, but you can use any rolling pin or even a wine bottle. And just work on rolling it out toward the ends. I start from the center and pull it back toward the edges so that it's nice and round. And every so often you can give it a turn, and if it feels like it's sticking to the parchment paper, just dust it with a little bit more flour. And we're gonna go for a 14-inch round. That'll be just enough pizza for me and Nick. And if you ever feel like your pizza dough is fighting you and not wanting to be rolled out, just let it sit for about 15 or 20 minutes and then come back to it. That'll allow the glutens to relax, and then it'll make it easier to roll it out. Okay, so every Friday night, Nick and I have pizza Fridays. We usually make our pizza. Sometimes we'll go out to our favorite parlors, but out of all the pizzas we've tried, and we've tried like hundreds of them, this Shakshuka pizza is one of our favorites. Okay, how's your dough looking? Good? All right, next, let's add the sauce. The sauce is smelling really good. Okay, you just take a spoon and spoon your sauce right onto the pizza dough. It's pretty chunky, but that's a good thing. Now spread it around, going almost all the way to the edge, but you want to have that crust. So leave a little bit of room at the edge for the crust. I'm gonna add a little bit more sauce. You want kind of a lot of sauce on this pizza because now once we get a nice layer of it on, we're gonna make wells for the eggs to go in. So just use your spoon to create 4 wells in each of the quadrants. Just like this. Okay, now grab your 4 eggs and crumbled feta. And then also grab a little bowl. Okay, so whenever I crack my eggs onto a pizza, I like to crack them into a little bowl first. It gives me more control, and also it allows me to ensure that the yolks won't be broken by the time they get on the pizza. If you break a yolk, just stick it in the fridge and save it for scrambled eggs tomorrow morning. And then gently pour it into a well. And the reason that it's so important to have a runny yolk is because the best part about shakshuka is when the runny yolk combines with that tomato sauce and makes it rich and creamy and so good. Okay, see guys how the egg just stays in that well that we just made? That's exactly what we want. Yay! Uh-oh, some of the egg whites are starting to escape. That's okay, it's a rustic pizza. All right, now lastly, before we stick it in the oven, let's cover it with feta. This is gonna add the most delicious salty snap on top. And also what I like about adding feta is it's not gonna melt down and totally cover the eggs. We're still gonna be able to see the egg yolks on top. This pizza is gonna be so gorgeous. So I just like sprinkling the feta around the eggs and just letting the egg yolks shine. And add as much or as little feta as you want. Yum! Okay, so it's ready for the oven. Now let's set ourselves up for success. I like to clear off my board to make sure that I have a clear pathway for the pizza peel. So grab a pizza peel. If you don't have a pizza peel, you can use a cookie sheet turned upside down. And now just slide the pizza right on. See how having the parchment really helps with this step? All right, let's get this in the oven. So just use your pizza peel to slide it right onto the pizza stone. Now this is gonna bake until the egg whites are cooked, but the yolks are still runny and the pizza crust is browned all over. Start checking for doneness at about 10 minutes. And while this cooks, I'm gonna go grab some parsley from my garden for the topping. So a little chopped parsley on the top of your pizza is gonna add the perfect pop of freshness, and it's gonna look really pretty. So just dry it off. And then bunch up your bunch of parsley and then take your knife and then run it along this way. And then run your knife along it the other way and just get it nice and finely chopped. There you go. Now you've got parsley for the top. Okay, let's move this to the side and make room for the pizza. All right, should we check on the pizza now? Grab your pizza peel again. And then also grab some tongs to help the pizza onto the pizza peel. Oh, it looks gorgeous. And it smells amazing. This is perfect. The crust is golden and crisp on the bottom thanks to that pizza stone. The egg whites are firm and the yolks are still runny. And I know it because if I jiggle the pizza, they jiggle back. And that only took about 12 minutes in the oven. So I love finishing my shakshuka with a drizzle of olive oil. Just adds that great olive oil flavor and it looks fun. Just a nice little drizzle, and I'm holding my finger over the top of the bottle so that it doesn't all pour out. And then you can season your eggs with a little salt and pepper. And sprinkle it with parsley. And how beautiful is this shakshuka pizza? I've got to have a slice immediately. So when you cut it, don't break the yolks yet. Do you hear how crisp that crust is? So this pizza is so good because the bottom gets crispy, but the top kind of soaks in that shakshuka sauce and stays soft. And my favorite way to eat this is to fold the slices like a taco. So grab a slice, fold it in half. Here I go. Oh my God, it's so good. The yolk with the shakshuka sauce is the perfect combination of textures. I hope you enjoy this pizza because I sure am.